Hi everyone, this is Mohammed. In this tutorial, let's see how we can automate the process of creating the clash test within Revizto with the help of PowerShell. So basically, we're going to use PowerShell to automate the UI process. And as you know, PowerShell is itself is pretty powerful. There are other applications as well that you can eventually use to do the same thing, but so far, I managed to find three different ways. So let's consider this to be a part one series of that tutorial, and maybe in the future it's worth sharing the other two solutions um, that I managed to figure it out. But for this exercise, let's understand how this is possible and what are the process that requires to do that. Okay, so clash detection, it's one of those routine exercise that you do perform on pretty much on any given project, no matter of the size or scale or the complexity of these projects, right? Sometimes the clash rules might change from either to a project, or it might be a requirement from the client, or you want to customize it for a project. And if you have to manually click the buttons for creating the class test, and selecting the search sets, applying the tolerances, etc., etc., and if you have like few hundred of them, that's gonna take you a lot of time to do that. Okay, so sometimes you may eventually have a template of your firm that you might typically re-import it. That should eventually save, but there are different scenarios. So my problem statement here is that I wanted to automate the process, and every time with some minimal effort, I wanted to ensure that this quickly gets created for me. So the solution for me, one of the solution is the PowerShell. Okay, and what it's basically happening is that I have a set of rules, a tabular set of data within Excel, and that data is being read by PowerShell, and then it's clicking the UI for Revista. Okay, that's simple. Okay, so let's look into the Excel data. So that's the Excel data that I have. I've got a set of the clusters name, the selection A and selection B. Okay, so as you know that when you are doing this within um, Revizto, so I did this test before, so I'll just quickly delete them. So as you know, within Revizto, you can click on the create new test, then you can select those selection set. Right now, I've got only few folders here, but imagine like you got a set of these folders that you want to click them. And then you have to specify the class name and then click on done and then apply the settings that are relevant. Okay, so what I'm trying to do now is that I'm trying to automate this process. Okay, so basically when we execute the script, it just reads this Excel data and then it will execute. So if I go to the folder, after the script executed, it might eventually create a text file which contains the log. So let's do that. It's gonna ask me for the confirmation, which is fine. Yes. So now I'm not touching the mouse. Basically, I'll let the UI does this exercise. So now it clicked on the new rule. It looked into the Excel file, into the column B and then column C for search set A and B, and then specified the class test name. It's clicking next, 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 and then finish. Okay, now it's going to iterate over the next row and do the same thing for another few tests. Okay, while this is doing this, I know that Revizto has the API offering, but again, I didn't look into that. And anyways, the tutorial is not meant to discuss on those specific, but it's worth looking into the API side of the Revizto, maybe in the future videos. Okay, so now we created basically 4 different rules now, and then what I can eventually do is I can apply the setting that I have created that as a template later on. So now with all the relevant tolerances and the clearance, etc., that I can eventually uh, able to apply that setting. Okay, let's try to do one quick test. So since we created this one, let's try to create few another. So I'll just save this. And also I was saying that, it should create a log. So it created a log saying that, it has created like 4 of these rules. Okay. So I saved the Excel file. Let me try to rerun this. Should ask for a confirmation. So it's doing the same process again, but this time the clash test name should be different. Yeah, so because we just changed that within the Excel file. Earlier it was now we're calling this as SD. So this approach, while this is doing this one, so just wanted to keep it short. So the this approach may or may not be flexible or scalable because it may also depends on the screen resolution and other factors. Okay, so that's why I think I've said this before, that I've managed to figure out 3 different ways to do this, and this is one of the way. And it may or may not work, but it's worth exploring on your end. Okay. All right. So this is done now. Finish. Okay. So it has taken like few um, minutes to do this, and let's look into the log. So the log now says that this has created the additional of those tests. Right, I hope you find this education entertaining, and if you happen to have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.